All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Guys with Beards channel. We're doing actually kind of a different thing today. We're going to be talking about our first ever our show review, and we're reviewing Mandalorian season 2. I know it's a little bit late on the bandwagon, but I think there's a crap load to talk about, and I think we have the right people here to talk about it with our resident Star Wars nerds. I know Sean's just fresh off the episode, so he's got plenty of opinions, a fresh perspective.
Episode 1 and 2, so season 2.
So I guess we should start with our overall impressions without going into too much spoiler stuff at first. So what was your guys' impression with we'll start with episode 1 since we'll be covering both episode 1 and 2 today. What was your impression? Did you like it? Did you hate it?
I loved episode 1 was fabulous. I've been waiting for Mandalorian so long when they came out with that. I was so happy. Everything was good. I'm still looking up all the Easter eggs there were in that one. Did you know that Luke Skywalker was mentioned in the first episode?
Really?
No.
Apparently it was, and everyone missed it.
Where was that? I'm curious.
Like when Cobb Vanth was talking about how he had the armor and stuff.
Oh.
Apparently it was something in there.
I mean, they mentioned the Sarlacc pit, obviously.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We should probably put a spoiler.
We're talking about spoilers here.
Yeah.
We'll put one in before the beginning of the video. I think it's kind of inevitable when you're talking about this stuff. Episodes. I mean, at least episode 1 has been out for over 2 weeks now. So I mean, we'll have a spoiler tag on this. But I think it's kind of inevitable to run into spoilers. My impressions though of the first episode and like how it started off was with a bang, and I was very, very excited with it. I watched episode 1 of season 2 3 times in one day just to make sure I caught everything that I wanted to. Obviously, there's even stuff I missed because I didn't know any of that stuff about Luke. And even though I thought I was paying very close attention, obviously I was very wrong.
I missed it too, so don't even feel bad. Like I was like,
I think it does a pretty good job of picking up off at where the last season ended. With a couple things. I mean, we saw with what's his name, the Mauve at the end of season 1. Who's obviously on the hunt for Yoda, and that's kind of been like the main plot thread that's been kind of driving the show, is getting this kid back to his planet, to his people, even if that's out there, who knows, or, which has been kind of also introduced, maybe get him to the Jedi, if there's even any left out there. Mandalorian, I mean, he has no idea, and honestly,
he doesn't know who the Jedi are.
Yeah, exactly. As far as he knows, they're space wizards.
That's crazy.
That's weird. Now, I liked episode 1. Episode 2 to me felt a little more like filler. It wasn't as exciting. It was definitely more gross. Probably the most grossed out I've ever been watching Star Wars.
I don't get why Baby Yoda kept eating the eggs. I thought that was
He's
so
a force
weird.
of chaos.
I think that's just like that was meant for, because there wasn't a lot of places for comedic relief in that at all. I mean, the only other comedic relief we had was like when the
Yoda's race could be, though. They just eat whatever comes across them, dude. Are you kidding me?
I thought
right. I mean, episode 2 had its moments, though. I love Dave Filoni's, cameo in it. He always said he wanted to be an X-wing pilot, and now he was able to do it. Which I'm like, that's
pretty sweet.
Way to go, Dave. I thought the "May the Force be with you," and then they answered back, and also with you. I thought that was hilarious.
Hilarious. I was like, oh my god, my boy's styling out of him, taking advantage of these cushy ass rebels. I was like, oh my god.
I thought that was funny.
I think episode 1 was a lot better than episode 2, without a doubt.
I think episode 2 will make more sense later on, hopefully. Maybe.
Yeah. So let's start with 1 and move into 2, just so the timeline makes some sense. So we see Mando back on Tatooine. He's on the hunt for Mandalorians because it's going to be a lot easier to find this or get this kid back to where he needs to be with just other than by himself, because as we see in episode 2, he's obviously still being hunted. There's plenty of bounties out there who have enough skin in the game where they want this kid, they want some money, and Mando's very much a target. Which they make a really good point of, just jumping quickly over to episode 2, that it's not really safe to travel not in light speed, because you're just going to be a target, which they paint very well later.
Right.
But he's on Tatooine again, which I think it's such a good place to start, at least for season 2, even though we did see it in season 1. I think it's a recognizable place for everybody. Everybody knows what the hell Tatooine is.
Right.
And it did a really interesting thing of actually like categorizing the parts of Tatooine, which from what at least in mainstream Star Wars media, I don't think we've seen. like Mos Pelgo, Mos Eisley, all these places that, I mean, personally,
we
I
usually
didn't know
just stay
the names
between
of the cities.
Yeah, we honestly just stay. The only two places we've been in Tatooine are Mos Eisley and Mos Espa, and then the Skywalker Moisture Farm. That's about it. And that's not even the Skywalker Moisture Farm. That's the Lars Moisture Farm.
Yeah,
and that's pretty much about it.
I have a question though.
Yeah.
So, they talked about a lot of things like the crate dragon, and we actually got to see it. And
oh my God.
I can't remember the crate dragon being in any other media except Knights of the Old Republic.
Yes.
So yeah, it was Old Republic, and here's my favorite little music sound clip thing about it. The actual sound that the crate dragon made. Okay, you think about that sound. Okay, I don't know if you just heard it, Sean. So it's kind of
Sean's pretty fresh on it.
It's sampled from the original Obi-Wan scream from Episode 4 to scare away the Sand People, and I think that is just beautiful. And it's just like
it makes sense. It's continuity.
It's so like I'm like, dude, why Dave Filoni and John Favreau are the greatest thing that happened to Star Wars in a very long time.
Agree. I mean, Dave Filoni is absolutely the director of the next generation of Star Wars. There's no doubt about that in my mind. I don't think there's anybody that has more love for the series than this guy, and I'll even say he likes it more than George Lucas, because I mean, I have my opinions about George Lucas, but I mean, I think with Star Wars being in Dave Filoni's hands, we're going to see something absolutely stunning with the next series of films. With the what the hell is the old series called, or the new one that's coming is about it's like just before Phantom Menace is when the period.
Oh, it's like the High Republic.
Yeah, the High Republic. That's what it is.
Before. Yeah.
And
I'm excited for that.
Seeing like all the concept art and all that for it. I mean, I just think he's got a great grasp on it. Great character design, all that stuff.
Here. Apparently, the crate dragon, the skeleton of a crate dragon, was seen in Episode 4, A New Hope, as a skeleton. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the one where C-3PO is walking past it, and it's like that.
Well, now we have continuity for that, which is insane. Well, actually, no. That's a different one. Actually.
And let's talk about the biggest thing from Episode 1. Okay, we'll talk about what's his name, Cobb Vane, I think is his name.
I really liked him.
I really liked him too. He brought the Old West style of Star Wars back a little bit, and when he walked in, obviously, again, massive spoilers alert for this one. When he walked in Boba Fett's, when he walked in Boba Fett's armor, I was like. But then I realized, obviously, he's very
scrawny.
Slim.
Yeah,
and I was like, that's not because I was expecting Tamir Morrison, the guy who played Boba Fett, or actually, sorry, Jango Fett and all the clones in the prequels, who actually redid the voice for Boba Fett in Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi.
Yep.
But he comes in, and then he takes his helmet off, and I love that, like the Mandalorian, you don't see his facial expressions. The actor is just so good at
physical actor.
He's just so good. Yeah, he's just like, you can tell he was like, as soon as he took out the helmet, you saw the, like it was so good. Like that was great. And then obviously at the very, very end, you see Tamir Morrison. Sean, he's the guy that turned around in all the Tusken Raider armor and stuff. Yep. That was Tamir Morrison from the original.
And in this episode, he's portraying Boba Fett.
Yep.
Which. That's fine. I'm sure you'll find it. But that to me was like, I watched this whole episode. I was already pretty stunned on what had happened with it, and I was like, with the armor there's a huge possibility, and there's no way they're just going to ignore it. And I was completely right. And I was screaming in my house. I'm telling you, I was going, "That's Boba Fett! That's Boba Fett!" My dad's like, "Shut the hell up, dude!"
I was the same way.
You don't get it.
I was the exact same way.
Yeah. I was
Boba Fett.
Yeah, but where? And I think that is a part of the reason why Episode 2 for me it feels a little bit more lackluster, because I mean when you drop that much of a bombshell in Episode 1, it's kind of hard to follow up. I mean, you have a crate dragon, you have Boba Fett, you have Boba Fett's armor, talk about the Sarlacc pit, all this crazy stuff that has so much like a nuance put into it, obviously, and the thought put into it by Dave Filoni, and connecting these threads that, to be honest, we would have never seen under any other director, in my opinion.
Oh yeah.
I just thought the whole Episode 1 was great, though, just because of the interactions with the Sand People and the tensions between the people in the village and the Sand people. I really felt that.
Yes.
Yeah, that was a really, and they literally bonded. Like, I mean, all of Star Wars, the Tusken Raiders or Sand People, as some people call them as well. Like, they've always been like the bad guys,
like
even
the
though they're not bad
or
guys.
something like that.
And now you get to go in their shoes for the first time, I think, in a series ever. And it's just so beautiful to actually see them actually working together for the first time, and literally all of Star Wars era ever, and even in Star Wars canon to thousands of years, they've always been like that. And it's kind of the whole thing of colonizers on Tatooine. I mean, Tusken Raiders were their first kind of thing, and it's a beautiful message underneath, which Star Wars always does well with, how it can relate to real life.
Yeah, exactly.
So
that's a part of I think Dave Filoni's writing. And he did that in the Clone Wars series, where he really characterizes these other alien races that normally in like old Star Wars stuff, it's like, oh, those are the aliens. They're saying weird shit and they're drinking weird juices and shit. Like that's that's not what our protagonists are about. Let them swing their sabers and get off the planet. No, Dave Filoni's like, those are actual people. They have a culture, and like the Mandalorian as like he kind of acts as a medium for a lot of cultures to come together. And kind of like find a middle ground, and I think that's absolutely genius.
Yep.
It's not something you see too much in media as far as Star Wars media, and so that's I personally I love that. I don't know.
Yep. I loved all the Easter eggs in it too. I mean, from R5D4, the original droid that Luke picked in Peli Motto's garage. You get to see Peli Motto again, which I think she's a great character. I think they're awesome. And the repair droids from Episode 1, they're great. Did you notice that? What was his name? I keep forgetting his name. Cobb Vanth was riding on.
I was just about to say that.
Anakin's old pod racer, and I was just like, dude. Yeah. Like when he pulled up, and I was like, oh my god,
my boy
so
is
good.
Styling. I was like, all right, well, that's pod racing right there.
Yeah, that's pod racing.
I was a little surprised in the end that Mandalorian actually took the armor, Boba Fett's armor.
Yeah, I mean that's the Mandalorian code.
I know. I was getting the vibe though that they were trying to convey that armor was more of like a message of like hope and protection for the town rather than like just armor. But at the end, they kind of, I don't want to say they threw it away because I don't know if they were working on it at all. But I was surprised that he did take the armor.
I think the trade out there was that the people kind of learned to fight for themselves by fighting the Great Dragon, so you don't really need the armor anymore.
And they also have the allies of the
Sand People.
The Sand People are Tusken. I don't know what's actually politically correct now.
Yeah. I don't want 2020 Star Wars lingo. I don't want to.
It's like, hey man, I don't know, like what are we gonna do? But hey,
I think it's implied, or like it's supposed to be kind of symbolic that they kind of found their own courage. Now it's not just one guy protecting the town. Kind of people have their own their own conscience now, to where they're not just attacking the Tusken Raiders or anything like that. They've kind of found this middle ground where they can work with them now. So they don't need that armor, which is like a symbol of power, more or less.
Who knows? It may bring great change, like Tatooine as a whole.
Yeah.
One village starts working with the Tusken Raiders.
Just a step in the right direction.
Absolutely. Wow, I'm looking up a lot of the little Easter eggs from there. I didn't even realize half of them. I forgot about half of them too. The Gamorreans, the pig people from the very beginning, were in it. You have Dathomirians. Darth Maul's people in it as well at the very beginning.
Yep.
You have Weequay, which is just like Hans Tanaka from the Clone Wars show. Hans Zonaka, I think. I don't remember. You know what I'm talking about, the pirate. It's that species, which is also in Episode 6. It was just so much. I think Episode 1 did a great job of hey, Mando's back. And I'm like, hell yeah, it's back.
It gets you back into that feeling like a very alive galaxy, a very organic place to live in. It just gets you back into it without much problem, which is amazing.
From the beginning, I was with it because it's such a great introduction back to Mando's character.
Yep.
Like when he goes in there and just seeing him be badass. Because I mean, it's just he's such a cool character. He's so just badass and stoic, and he's got some heart to him. It's a little generic, but he's just that classic Western kind of character.
Exactly. And that's what Star Wars has been missing for a while, man.
Is that even though they name dropped who the Mandalorian is at the end of the first season, I damn near almost forgot that because he's just such a great actor in the helmet. His name's Din Djarin, but people still call him mostly Mando and stuff like that. And I think it's just amazing you're able to characterize. It's almost like a separate person how they've done it, because Mandalorians, they don't take their helmets off. They're not supposed to, at least. And for them, that's like a life or death thing. And obviously, he put his pride aside at the end of season 1 to survive. But technically, it was a robot or a droid that saved him, so it doesn't.
And the droid technically died.
Yeah, so it doesn't count more or less, but it does.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a little breach of his code, but he's willing to do that, because he's got a conscience. He knows his overall goal of getting this child to safety is more important to him because it's a pact by his people.
Right.
And so I don't know. I was very, very impressed by that I could easily forget his name, which I think it's kind of what they want you to do. They don't really name drop him too much. Still, like, he's still the Mandalorian. He's still this outlaw. And, his name is still on the DL because, that's kind of how it's supposed to be.
I want to mention this. It's not like necessarily in episode 1 or 2, but I saw it again in the recap. And his motivation for bringing Baby Yoda back to his people when he was talking to the blacksmith was that she mentioned that the Mandalorians and the Jedi a long time ago used to fight. And that sounds like a reference to the Old Republic era.
Yeah.
And I wonder if we're going to uncover like a connection between that era and this like current era. And
I think it's also referring to Clone Wars too.
Clone Wars also referenced that stuff. Did it? Or
the ending of the Clone Wars series takes place on Mandalore, where Obi-Wan and Ahsoka are they're on the planet multiple times throughout the war. Technically, the Jedi were still the enemy of the Mandalorians at that time. Throughout that whole period, the Jedi are not really welcome on Mandalore because of what happened in the past with them. As you can see, like, Obi-Wan got thrown in jail immediately, even though
it's actually right after the death of Duchess Satine. That's when it goes back to, like, because during the reign of Duchess Satine, that's when a lot of stuff was
started to calm down. But the guy before her and the previous guys before that were all super anti-Jedi. She was like kind of like the first of her line to come along and really be kind of tolerant about that stuff. And obviously, it didn't last long with Maul coming around and just throwing a monkey wrench on the planet. But Mandalore doesn't have a great history with Jedi. But I think in the post-Empire age, they can't really afford to hold on to those kind of grudges. I don't think that's the kind of people Mandalorians are these days. They're more survivors than anything. So they're not really like a galactic force.
We're going to see a Mandalorian Jedi alliance, kind of.
It's hard to say.
Here's my big thing is, like, there's been so many leaks about Ahsoka in Mandalore. That'd be sweet. Mandalorian. I really think she's going to make an appearance in this
to be fair, they've already confirmed that they cast somebody as her for Mandalorian season 2. That was confirmed way back before the season released. So I have no doubt she's going to appear. Now the real question is when. I think they're going to
bombshell at the end. I think they're going to bombshell.
It's possible.
At the end, like last season.
I personally think she's going to show up earlier. Because episode 2 has some small implications, and I could be going out on a really like 6-foot pole reach here.
Well, let's jump into episode 2 now. Then I think we said we did about episode 1. So episode 2. Let's keep going with your thoughts, Kyle. Sorry.
Yeah. So obviously the big super gross thing about episode 2, what they're called is the Krinka spiders. The ones that now when I saw the preview for episode 2, I originally thought, oh shit, he's going to Ilum. He's going to the home planet.
I thought so too.
Like, where the sabers are made for the Jedi. I was like, oh my god. And then we got horrible spider planet, and that was gross. But a couple of things about the Krinka, which I think are notable, is that Krinka only they're not really a widespread race across the galaxy. They exist in certain parts of it. They've only appeared twice in Star Wars media. Once in concept art for the original trilogy. They just didn't get put in. Wasn't enough time. Wasn't in the script. And the other one was in Star Wars Rebels. I don't know if you guys have watched that.
I've watched it.
What's her name? God, the Mandalorian chick, and Rebels. I don't remember her name for some reason. Satine.
Hold on.
Is it Satine? It's not Satine. Sabine. That's what it is. Well, they fight the Krinka spiders in Rebels. And Sabine ends up going with Ahsoka at the end of the show. And it's kind of implied that it's the same part of the galaxy because these spiders are in it. I don't know. That's personally what I think this is going. I think they're going to meet Sabine pretty soon here for Mandalorian season 2.
They could meet all of them besides obviously Ezra and Kanan.
Yeah, well, yeah. Who knows if we're ever going to see Ezra again?
They could meet the Spectre Force.
I mean, think about it. He's looking for another Mandalorian. Sabine is a Mandalorian, and I'm pretty sure she's in the possession of the Darksaber right now. I'm almost positive she is.
We saw what's his
Dark. Oh no, Moth. Yeah, that's right. The Empire got back in control of it.
So
She lost it, and
but Sabine had it. Sabine had it in the end of Rebels because she got it back from Maul.
Yeah, so it leads me to believe that she's involved with the Maw, because why would the hell? There's only one Darksaber. That's a fact. There's only one Darksaber.
Yeah.
So I think that Sabine had a run-in with the Maw somehow, and he got that from her. However the hell that happened.
We'll see.
There's been a huge talk about the Mandalorian purge and whatnot too, and that's kind of been thrown up in the air a couple times because like how the metal that they have is so rare now, and it's like worth like trillions almost, and
one of the most expensive things in the galaxy at this point, at least.
Yeah, so I mean, I hope they go into more detail about that. But knowing Dave Filoni, he will. It's he knows it's not the right time yet.
I just think there's too many plot threads here that lead to Rebels in a way, which I don't know. I just think between the gap, obviously the very obvious gap of knowledge we have on how the Darksaber got in the hands of the Mav, when it was obviously in Sabine's hands at the end of Rebels, I think that's a connection we're gonna have answered in this season.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
From what the previews of the next. Oh yeah, sorry. You go ahead.
Let's just finish off with episode 2 though, kind of soon here.
Yeah,
I want to get back to like what we thought of it and stuff.
Oh, I have a big part I do want to talk about.
I didn't mind it. I thought it was good. I think it was definitely filler. I think it was a good episode still. I think the again the style was there. I think it had really good action. I think it's kind of moving the story along. I don't think the episode itself had a story that was like noteworthy at the end of the day. But I mean, it's just Mando helping out another species in the world. Baby Yoda still being cute, and that creepy spider shit, and then having my favorite part of that whole episode though is at the very end when the two X-wings come down. They're just like they don't even bother shooting with the actual X-wings, guns. They're like, how the camera's just like and they're just like, stay safe, bud. That's like my favorite
so part. I do want to touch on that. So I think something that Dave Filoni, at least I hope this is what I'm picking up. So when Mando gets stopped by the rebellion, I think it's kind of implicative,
New Republic.
The question is kind of raised: is like, are these guys kind of like the Empire? They're stopping a ship. They're questioning you. They're like, what are you doing out here? Send us your transponder. If you don't, we're gonna blow you out of the goddamn sky.
I was actually thinking about that during the episode.
And there's a lot of duality there, and I was having the same question. I was like, aren't these guys just as bad as the Empire? I was like, what's the difference here? They're stopping someone.
I want explored. And in Star Wars, which hasn't really been explored at all, maybe a few times here, is painting the Republic as the bad guys.
Yeah, yep, exactly.
Putting the Empire in a sympathetic light. I'd love to see that.
And more of that. I think it's going more towards the Rebellion or New Republic. I always call it Rebellion.
But yeah, I know it's weird to call it.
It's so strange.
We'll see though.
But I think it's supposed to kind of paint a duality between them. And though at the end of the episode, they do come to the aid of Mando, and they kind of like, well, you also helped our guy later on or earlier on, so they kind of leveraged out the charges a little bit. You could see they're a little bit more humane than the Empire, because the Emperor would have gone, you still did a crime, dude. You're going to get arrested regardless. They wouldn't have helped him out. But it does raise that question. It's like living in a post-Empire galaxy. Is the New Republic just as bad? What are we dealing with here?
Probably not.
Yeah, definitely not as bad, but it's the question is raised because you see it from Mando's perspective, like, I'm getting stopped by these guys. Are you kidding me? And they're questioning with shitload. Turn on your transponder, right. And that's when we get that amazing like "May the Force be with you" kind of thing. And I was just dying in my seat, like my man is playing these fools, and I absolutely love it.
Yeah, I would just like to add though, I really did think episode 2. I don't want to say it was a letdown. But I was nearly not as engaged as I was in the first episode.
Definitely.
And that was true for season 2 or season 1, episode 2 as well.
Right.
I mean, episode 1 of like Mandalorian, I was like, oh, what? And then season 2, episode 2, I'm like, okay.
It's kind of hard to follow a pilot episode or an episode 1 of the season. It's kind of supposed to be like that gets you gripped for the rest of the season.
Did we really need this episode though? Like, did we need it?
I think so.
Okay.
Personally, I think for the implications.
Maybe more development towards the frog character that we met.
And apparently she has been called the star of the show as well.
Really?
That episode. Yep.
She is going to be in the next episode. From what I've seen in the previews, it looks like they're on the planet they're heading to. The water. It looks like a water planet with like industrial stuff going on. So I think that they're going to find some sign of a Mandalorian on this planet. I think that plot thread's going to wrap up with her trying to get her children to the father on that planet.
She's intriguing. I like her.
Yeah, And from the shots of what we've seen from that preview, it looks like she's with her husband on the planet. So I'm assuming that plot thread's going to wrap up, and Mando's going to get involved in something on this planet. Hopefully with another Mandalorian would be sweet. But, it could be too early in the season to tell on that, because there should be, I think there's 8 episodes listed for the season, I believe. Maybe I'm wrong. Yeah. So it could be too early to see a Mandalorian, but I mean, I'd like to see one sooner than later, because that means that has so many other implications as far as like Jedi, seeing Ahsoka maybe. This is a lot of ways this can go.
I mean, we have to bring Baby Yoda back to the Jedi.
Yes,
we have to do that.
I don't think it's going to happen until season 3. I think there's going to be something that happens, because the mom's not just going to give up. I mean, the guy has enough forces under his belt where he's a legitimate threat.
I know I'm ahead of myself here, man, but I can't wait for this last season of this show.
Yeah, it's good.
The last season of this show. I hope it's not for another 4 or 5. I really hope. I hope they go into at least 6 seasons of this. But like,
it's making them enough money to where they could do as much as they want. I think.
Yeah, like
it's good.
It's
too.
great. This is what Star Wars is, and I absolutely love it. I think this is one of the greatest shows.
I think it's definitely
that Disney Star Wars is coming out with
the
right
strongest genre they could have picked to write a show for Star Wars is a space western. Because it's just like, this guy's a gunslinger. It's a very down to earth kind of a muddy thing where you get to see the worst parts of the galaxy from another perspective. Which
that's why I liked Episode 1 more than Episode 2, is because it was just like this short little story about this town in Tatooine having to work with their former enemies and overcome a greater threat.
Yeah.
And then we got to Episode 2, where, like we've been saying, it might get more interesting, but as a standalone episode and a story, it really didn't offer me much in terms of.
And I think that's because Episode 1 features a really strong A plot, and it has a subplot that really, really works. Episode 2 just feels like a subplot. It doesn't feel like there's like a lot going on in an overarching way. It's like Mando's on this planet, he needs to get the fuck out of here before these spiders get him. It's not a lot driving other than escape, get away from the rebellion. Get away from these spiders, go somewhere else. That's not like, there's nothing much like driving the narrative in Episode 2, I'd say, other than like, let's get out of here. It's kind of like a middle point between what I think most people probably would have wanted was Episode 2 being, we skip this whole little intermission where he stops on this planet, he gets on this ride, he just ends up at the planet. Now that's probably where, like, originally I think most people would have wanted Episode 2 to go, because I feel like this is just kind of like a pit stop, more or less, which is why
it's just a move the story along kind of thing.
Yeah.
I just found this out, and I'm actually kind of like, no way. The voice of the Frog Lady is D. Bradley Baker,
what?
who's also the voice for Clone Troopers and Commander Rex in Clone Wars.
That is whack.
Did not know that. Did not know that.
That's such a versatile actor, though. I mean, like, holy hell. To be able to do a crapload of clones and make them sound just a little bit different based on their personality, that's insane.
That's a hard job.
That's a lot of clones.
And now a frog.
Yeah, he's got a lot on his resume. Clones A through 600, and then Frog Lady 1.
Right.
But yeah, I think I've pretty much covered what I wanted to say here.
I do have one glaring issue with Episode 2 I do want to touch real quick.
Sure.
Yep.
And it has to do with what's her name's character with the droids. I don't remember her name for some reason.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah,
Ellie.
Yeah, it's not really with her. It's the information that gets passed along. It seemed way too convenient.
Oh, Pelly and Dr. Mandalorian.
Yeah, when she's playing cards with the bug guy, he comes along back from this long journey of just killing the Krayt Dragon and all that. He needs to lead. He needs something obviously to push the plot along. But it's like, he's been looking for so long, obviously, for these Mandalorians. How did he already miss this lead on Tatooine? Happens to be 2 leads on Tatooine, apparently, and she just happens to have one out of nowhere by playing with this random bug guy who happens to know this
after he just did all this damn work.
Her husband, who happens to know a Mandalorian, apparently. That just seemed way too convenient for me, and I was like,
that is ridiculous.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know about that. But
I wish we saw more of that bug guy, though. He looked kind of funny.
I mean, we have actually seen him in Episode 4. That guy was in the cantina.
Yep.
At least one of those race was in the cantina. Obviously, it was actually CG back then and not a practical effect, I think. But I mean, and here it's a practical costume done amazingly. So I personally love seeing that race.
And they're also playing Sabacc again, which is another Easter egg there. But I mean, and they're also back in the cantina at the same.
Oh yeah.
That they were for when Han shot first, kind of thing.
Yep. So a lot of like small callbacks that are easy to miss, which is why I recommend if you're gonna watch Mandalorian, watch the episodes more than once. I guarantee you'll catch something you didn't before, which will give a little more context.
Let me just make. Were you saying they were playing Pazak?
Sabak.
Yeah, the card game.
Sabak or Pazak?
Sabak.
Okay, because I know there's the one that starts with a P.
Yeah, that's the other one. The Sabak is the more famous one made by Solo. Now on
Okay.
That's that one. The one he won the Falcon with.
I'm trying to think about there's anything we didn't cover as far as like plot points.
I think we literally got everything. There's not much to talk about right now. It's only 2 episodes.
I guess one thing we probably, at least I want to talk about super quick, is how do we think Boba Fett's going to be involved in this season? Because he's not just here for show. He's not here for show. I don't
know. I think so they had that little possible clip of him in season 1 when they're on Tatooine. When they had that new bounty hunter and whatever, and they captured that one chick. And then it ended with footsteps, and everyone was like, "Oh, it's definitely him. It's definitely him now." So we know that for sure. But that was kind of all we saw of him in season 1. I hope they do more with him in season 2. I don't know how though. I really. He left.
Could just be a cameo. Could just be a cameo.
No. Dave Filoni's not that kind of guy.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I have no doubt that he's going to be an antagonist. This guy hates Jedi. There's no doubt about that. The Jedi killed his father. He got thrown into a Sarlacc pit because of the Jedi. If he finds out that Mando is carrying this little Force-sensitive kid, I don't think he's going to be about it. I think he's going to go out of his way to make it hell for him.
Mandalorian versus Boba Fett.
I'm just saying.
I think this is going to be Boba's send-off for sure. I think Tamir Morrison's obviously tired.
He's an older guy now, yeah, for sure.
He's an older guy now. He's been doing a lot of stuff. I mean, hell, he is honestly one of the best things about the prequels.
Yeah, no doubt.
I would say. I mean, he did a lot of work. I mean, he was like, he's a clone. They literally cloned him thousands of times. He did all those voices. He had so much work to do. I think he's just with doing this, he's like, yeah, I want to do this, but this is it kind of thing. I think that's what I would, if I were him, that's what I would say. So I think we're going to see his actual final, and they're going to make, knowing Dave Filoni, he's going to do it beautifully, like how he did Bob Maul.
They're going to give him some characterization, I think, because
weren't they supposed to release a Boba Fett movie a while back? They talked about it.
There's a really weird middle zone of production for Star Wars.
So it's the whole Solo thing. The Solo was supposed to be Solo, Boba Fett, Obi-Wan movie. There's going to be a trilogy on its own, and then Solo tanked.
Yep. Yeah, it didn't do as well as they thought.
And now apparently there's going to be a Solo 2 now. I've heard rumors of that, but that's...
I'll pass on that.
I didn't mind Solo, but that's hey, check out my stream because we're doing that tonight.
Solo came after Rogue One, and Rogue One was a pretty big hit.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it was a pretty big hit in the scheme of things. So I think people were expecting, Darth Vader, coming through whooping ass, killing everybody, just like big characters, big names. And though it was Solo in it, I just
they tried to do the same thing twice.
It wasn't the take on the universe I think people were expecting. It was more of like a heist movie, and I don't know if that works in the scheme of Star Wars. Despite that wanting to work, I would love it to work better than it did. I just think some of the writing was awkward.
We're talking too much about Solo here.
Yeah. Mandalorian. I know. We're getting off track.
Solo-lorian.
Wrap it up here. We got any final thoughts?
I love Mandalorian. I'm ready to see what happens this season.
I think this season's going to end off with a square off on Mandalorian versus Boba. There's no way this man is not going to be an antagonist. He hates Jedi way too much. That's just a fact. They've ruined his life.
He's always been posed as the bad guy. I don't think they're going to be able to.
There's an interesting clash of ideologies I think would come with that. Because technically Boba Fett's not a real Mandalorian.
Right.
He's a clone. He's a clone of Jango. He was not raised under Mandalorians. He was always just kind of a bounty hunter. We saw that through Clone Wars where they showed him as a kid, sneaking in, clone freighters, trying to blow him up, sabotage him, working for the Confederacy and all that stuff.
Right.
He doesn't have a history as a Mandalorian.
Well,
though he wears that
we'll see though. I mean, but to be fair on that opposite point, he always had his helmet on every time you saw him in the Star Wars universe. Even in the cantina, he always had his helmet on. So I don't know. Again, I hope they build more on Boba, because I mean, obviously you see where he's from now with the prequels. You see him in the originals. Now you actually get to see him afterwards when everyone's like, "Oh, he's dead," but obviously not. We'll see. Because I think his death in Episode 6 was honestly the worst part of Return of the Jedi. I'm like,
it felt a little cheesy. It was like, this guy is supposed to be like the best of the best bounty hunters, and he just gets murked by a stick.
Right, like, and now that the Mando is now the best bounty hunter in the galaxy. I think that's a very I didn't even think about that before, Kyle, but I think that's a really good way to end the episode. Like, yeah, like, hey, the two best, like, Mandalorians going head to head. That'd be sick.
Yeah, he's kind of like the forgotten age of bounty hunters, more or less, at this point.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's probably wrap it up here. I think we covered what we wanted to say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Look forward to the next episode review.
Yeah, we're going to be doing this weekly now. So episode 3 will be out soon this Friday. I hope we get some really big stuff in it. I mean, I think that's what everybody's hoping for.
Tonight's Thursday, boys.
Tomorrow. We're recording this. Tomorrow. So we're going to have more of this back for y'all. I want to know your thoughts on Mandalorian. Maybe you caught something that we missed. If you did, let us know in the comments.
Drop it down.
If you're a fellow Star Wars nerd, stick around because we have a lot to talk about. There's so much to talk about. I personally would like to do some reviews on the Clone Wars, on the final season. There's a lot to talk about there that has tons of implications because it's under the same writer, Dave Filoni, who, as we've seen, loves to connect the puzzle pieces.
Who also did the first season of Avatar: Last Airbender. So if that's just not enough for you guys, then...
and be sure to join the Discord. We'd love to talk about Star Wars with you guys.
We'll post a link in the description for sure.
Yep, and we all stream. I'm like the main Star Wars guy here.
G229, the Star Wars man. Sean Farah, Chuggy Man 68.
We'll put it in the description.
Yeah, we'll make sure to link shit for you. But until next week, keep your helmets on. Keep your seatbelts tight.
Don't take them off.
Don't take your helmet off. Don't you dare, because Mando will come and kill you.
And good night.
All right, everybody have a wonderful evening, though.
Have a great night. We'll see you next week for more Mandalorian action.